everybody can compete. Men, women, children, old people, young people. And we'll find out who's the best, who does that thing the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to start separating into men, women, children, age groups, people with blonde hair, you can do that if you want to. We can see who throws the shot put the furthest who has blonde hair. That's a thing we could do. We could see who could throw the shot put the furthest that's a woman. We could see, but we don't have to. Because what we really want to know is who can throw it the furthest. And everybody stacks up to them. When you stop comparing yourself to somebody who's better than you, are you really competing now? So I'm the best woman at throwing the shot put, but the men throw further. So am I the best shot putter? No, I'm the best, and then you had to add the qualifier. I'm the best woman. If we had weight classes in shot put, which we do not, I'm the best 220 shot putter, male. That's another qualification. I'm the best male 220 shot putter that's in the teen division. It's another qualification. And we can keep going.
Well, powerlifting does.
I know, but we don't have to.
I get that because I'm laughing, right? Because one time I wrote an article about how many different potential first place awards you could get in one powerlifting meet. It was in the thousands because you got police, you got fire, you got 4 different master's classes or 5, then 2 different teen classes, weight classes.
And I'm not knocking the involvement, but what I'm saying is you do the world championships. And they do a sports formula for an overall best, you know. But you get 11 world champions at bench press every year. Now who's the best? Now we could look at the strength to weight ratio, but then we get more and more and more talk and debate. So we could do the bench press and see which person, male, female, old, young, lifts the most at the bench press. And that's what I did. That's why I did so many classes. I wanted to be the best at the bench press. And so I didn't want to compete just against one group of people and say I'm the best 220 bencher. And that doesn't necessarily, if somebody benches more than I bench at 220, am I the best bench presser? I can't say that. I have to say I'm the best 220 bench presser, or I'm the best woman bench presser. I'm the best woman at 132 bench presser. And you could start dividing it up, and that's fine. I'm okay with that, and people don't have to argue with me about this because I'm fine. Go ahead and do that. But if you're having trouble with all these qualifications, and we can get rid of all that. We can just say who benches the most, who runs a mile the fastest, who gets from point A to point B that's 1 mile away the fastest. And then we know that, and then everybody will find their place in that in the world. Every woman will find their place. Every man will find their place. Every 50-year-old will find their place. Every child will find their place. But the best will be the best, and that's that. We're done here. Right? Or then you get people like, well, I'm the best this, at this, at this, at this. And that's a dilution.
Oh, I don't disagree because powerlifting's a train wreck. It always has been because there is like 3,000 different iterations. That's before you look at single ply, multiply, raw, sleeves, or raw with sleeves, raw with wraps. I mean, there's so many different things. We don't need
any of that. We could get rid of all the gear and just go.
Yeah.
Or we could let you do whatever. I mean, but these decisions have been made.
Yeah.
And they're fine because that's how laws are made. You know, at one point, America decided we're not going to drink any alcohol here for 10 years. And then we decided, yeah, we are. Well, what changed? Nothing. Nothing. We just chose that. We chose that as our laws, as our rules. And so people can choose rules in the bench press and in the, you should have some justification for why the rule is the rule. So here's a good one for you, Dave. You can't leave your thumb loop on when you wrap your wrist. That's illegal. And if you do that, even though you lifted the weight, it's disqualified. Now, all I want to know, so that's the rule, and I will follow it. But can you tell me why that's the rule? Why was that rule invented? Why is that rule important to people? Why do people look for that? Why are we talking about it now? Right?
I mean, you can go through the whole rule book and find multiple.
Right. So but some make more sense than others, and some don't make a lot of sense. But that's the rule. And so if everybody shows up and says we're going to abide by this set of rules on this day, we can say who was the best at this day. on this bench at whatever height it is, with these shitty or great weights, with the conditions. It's too hot in here. It's too cold. I mean, whatever, right? And so that day stands. But if I want to compare that day to somewhere else, that's a little tougher now. And that's what they did with Bob Beeman's jump in New Mexico, Mexico City, I think it was, or somewhere at altitude, where he jumped way further than everybody else, and that wasn't the altitude, because everybody jumped in that thin air, and everybody was about where he was at the beginning of that day. They were all world class, and they were all about within a half inch of each other, and he jumps like a mile longer. He jumps a foot longer than them on that day. That's not because the air was thin for him; it was thin for everybody. But they tried to take that away from him because they said, well, he set that record at altitude. And they started doing this thing at altitude. That was a little asterisk. Like in baseball, the steroid era, and all that nonsense. So it's okay to do those things. And it's okay to spend our time deciding that thumb loops should be in the rule book or not. But we should have a reason, shouldn't we? For why
I think
we
so.
want
But I
thumb
think
loops
where I would fall on that is, coming through a sport that was like that is, while you're competing, you don't have any say in these things. No. So when you're expanding your focus, like what we're talking about, that's probably expanding it too far as a lifter. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And especially when it comes to competing in anything per se, right? Like there needs to be a certain standard of competition to which to judge the efforts of those individuals.
Yeah,
right?
and I don't I don't disagree with that.
But there are some stupid ones.
Well, there are, but I mean, as the person competing, you got other things to worry about.
Right.
You still got to show up, do what you're supposed to do, because all that really becomes is drama that you have no real control over. I mean, if you don't like it, you can compete someplace else.
Right.
But I try to always stay clear of that kind of stuff because I knew where I was going to compete, how I was going to compete, and that's all I really cared about. I didn't understand. Well, I understand why people compete in different ways and different disciplines, and so I get that. It's just not what I wanted to do. And it wasn't an argument or a debate I really gave a shit about, because how does it make me perform better, or how does it make me better? And then once being removed from the sport, why care? Because now it's a fucked up thing. It's a fucked up way I have of thinking about it, because it's like, well, now I don't have a voice because I'm not really participating in it anymore, so my opinion doesn't matter. So when did it matter? When I was competing? Because I just said it didn't matter then either. So maybe that's where the void is. Like, who does this matter for? Who's making the rules? And that's where it really needs to fall.
And it's funny because if you're going into a competition looking for these little things, to focus in on, that is not how you compete on that day. Is like, are you just looking for ways out? Are you not confident in your own abilities to compete at that on that day?
Hey, Jacob, I think he lost his pop filter.
Oh, yep. She kicked around there. Yeah, it's like if you're going into a competition worried about checking everybody's thumbs for the thumb loop, it's like you're already focusing on the wrong shit.
If you're lifting, yes.
Right,
but
exactly.
I mean, there are judges that specifically just look for things like that, which, I guess that'd be a good thing if you were a person that was inclined to lift your hips off the bench, and if the judges were too concerned with looking at your wrist instead of your hips, it'd be a good thing.
Right.